Ron DeSantis is definitely running for president. No doubt about it. How do we know? Because he beat the Resign to Run law. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. Yesterday, Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida ended the week by receiving, in essence, legislation to enable him to run for president. This raises some questions the governor has to answer. Didn't he promise to serve out a full term as governor of Florida? Why do so many of his flashy initiatives not produce the results he promised, and sometimes fail in court? And most of all, is he ready for prime time? I'm going to go into all of it, because I want to lay this out before you so that you can make an informed decision. But first, I do want to shout out to the prime sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views. Link in the description. Be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of great merchandise there, especially this t-shirt that I've chosen for today, which depicts the American eagle with this caption: "Eagles fly alone, pigeons need a flock." One more thing. If you like what you're about to hear, you can like this video. You can also click the bell icon to get a notice every time I come out with a new one. In fact, do you see the new icon, the heart shape with the US dollar sign in it? That's the super thanks icon. If you really want to keep these videos coming, click that and leave me a tip. Any currency will do, so long as it's legal tender. Now, Florida has always had a resign to run law, saying that a holder of office must resign before seeking another. This applies also to state office holders who seek election to Congress or the United States Senate. Now, most people believe it applies also to those wanting to run for president or vice president of the United States. Knowing this, State Senator Danny Burgess introduced a rider on an election integrity bill to write an exception into the law. Quote, "This section does not apply to persons seeking the office of president or vice president of the United States." Close quote. I have 4 links in the description on this issue. The first is by Jay O'Brien and quotes the relevant text of that rider. Next is by Laura Loomer, who predicted this result a month ago. She tweeted out the text of a placeholder bill with the exact same bill number as that election integrity bill. And she pointed out that this placeholder went in on the very day that a New York grand jury returned a true bill of indictment against Donald J. Trump. Yesterday, this election integrity bill passed the Florida House 76-34. I have links in the description to 2 tweets announcing that, one by Terrence Williams and the other by Jack Posobiec. There are not but 4 other states that have resigned to run laws. They are Arizona, Georgia, Hawaii, Texas. Now, as I said, this raises several questions that Ron DeSantis must answer. Worth noting is that Donald J. Trump, the current champion of the nomination, is also a Florida resident. So the two can't run for president and vice president on the same ticket, unless one or the other redomiciles himself elsewhere. The reason? Presidential electors from any state must vote for one candidate each for president and vice president, and here I quote, "of whom one at least shall not be an inhabitant of the same state with themselves." Close quote. Ron DeSantis surely knows this and hasn't said a word. I want to stop right here because I want to shout out to a sponsor who can really help you through the economic storms to come. That sponsor is rsilverlines.com. Do you feel like you're working harder for your money just to get by? You are not alone. The fluctuating economy, employment issues, and unexpected changes in life have left many families struggling over the past few years. Collecting gold and silver can help shield you against many of these challenges, but If you're like me many years ago, you don't know where or how to start. Our Silver Lines helps by connecting you with thousands of members who are learning the secrets to creating and protecting true wealth by collecting precious metals. Whether you just want to collect rare and unique coins or take advantage of the business opportunities this company provides. Either way, they can help you learn to live an exceptional life. Visit oursilverlines.com to learn how you can build a legacy for your future. Okay, so what else? We also have seen many initiatives from this governor that, most of the time, look like showboating. Yes, he passed an anti-grooming bill, and yes, he went after the Walt Disney Company after they protested the bill, and not with good reason. But why, when Disney CEO Bob Iger gave the game away, didn't the governor follow up on his advantage? Here Bob Iger conflates Walt Disney Parks and Resorts with the Reedy Creek Improvement District. You'd think DeSantis would say something, especially now that Disney is suing him. And by the way, why did he let Disney sue him? With a few words, he could have made that lawsuit go away. There's some general obligation bonds there, issued under false pretenses. DeSantis could have made Disney subject to immediate bond repayment or even criminal fines. Then we have Florida's online anti-censorship law. Now that law hasn't held up in court. The 11th Circuit Court of Appeals struck it down. And other questions. Why didn't Ron DeSantis intervene when the FBI laid on a raid on Trump's house? We have since learned that the FBI laid on that raid by Joe Biden's direct order. Now, people expect the governor of Florida to protect people's constitutional rights. We haven't seen DeSantis do that lately, or at least not very well. In fact, DeSantis said nothing when Trump faced arrest this year in New York. Laura Loomer called him on it, and when she did it, she linked to 2 articles in the Independent of London saying flatly that DeSantis was waiting for an indictment of Trump. Read the tweet for yourselves. I have a link in the description. And how does the governor come to be out of state during natural disaster emergencies? Now, this last came out during his recent trip to Israel, a trip he made to get a photo op. Well, apparently DeSantis actually said he had placed a prayer note into a crack in the western wall, and for that reason, a hurricane named Dorian did not make landfall in Florida in 2019. However, as the recount pointed out in their tweet only yesterday, link in the description, Hurricane Dorian didn't hit the mainland, but its winds and seas still had an impact. 6 people died in that storm. And while we're on the subject, Laura Loomer sent out a tweet, a link to which I also have in the description. Quote, "Too bad he didn't put a note in the wall to stop Hurricane Ian and the recent flooding in Fort Lauderdale. The pandering is just so absurd. Absolutely ridiculous pandering for the Jewish vote. As a Jewish voter, I am not impressed by him," unquote Laura Loomer. Now, she has definitely endorsed Trump for 2024. But what was Ron DeSantis doing in Israel anyway? To sign legislation making anti-Semitism a felony in Florida. I have a link to his tweet saying, "We stand with the Jewish people." Okay, a disclaimer. First, I've not been to Florida since 1993 when I did Disney World, back when it was still wholesome. So, I don't know anything about whether you can find National Socialistic or other anti-Semitic graffiti on any walls in any city in Florida. Second, I'm a Gentile. I admit that anything I would have to say against that bill, certain parties whom I will not name might regard as self-serving. But Laura Loomer, now, she has a perfect right to make the point, and I think she makes it more effectively than anybody. She would prefer to deal with anti-Semitic screeds, graffiti, whatever, however offensive they might, repulsive they might be, than censorship, which violates the Constitution that she regards as protective of her rights. I quote, "This has nothing to do with Jews. I'm Jewish, and I oppose your unconstitutional anti-free speech legislation that is going to send Floridians to jail for their constitutionally protected speech. Offensive speech like anti-Semitism is still protected speech. Shouldn't you know this, Mr. Harvard Law School? Unquote, Laura Loomer. And I have a link in the description. And Laura, if you can hear me, Mazel Tov. No, wait, I think I can make that stronger. Moed Tov, which means absolutely excellent. Look it up in a good Hebrew interlinear. It's in the first chapter of the book that we Gentiles call Genesis, but the Jews call Bereshit, or in the beginning. And she wasn't through with him. I have only so much time to talk about this, so I'll leave it with just one more tweet. In it, she criticized him resoundingly for meeting prospective campaign donors on the state's dime. I quote, "You're pretending this was a business trip to Israel as governor, but you're using taxpayers' money to campaign for president. While in Israel, you met with Jewish GOP mega donors like Miriam Adelson, Larry Mitzel, and Lee Sampson. You're running on our dime," close quote. Now these are the questions Ron DeSantis must answer. Is he serious about being a servant of the people? Why must even the simplest things he does or tries to do, says he's doing, be so complicated? And why doesn't he seem able to do something that really works? Now that his tame legislature has exempted him from the Resign to Run law, we can expect him to announce for president soon. Donald J. Trump set the standard for presidential results. Ron DeSantis will have to work hard to satisfy people that he can and will get results. Links in the description of the article, to 4 tweets on the Resign to Run law, to Laura Loomer calling DeSantis out on saying nothing when Trump's arrest became imminent, to 5 tweets overall about DeSantis in Israel, to my Declarations of Truth Twitter account, and to Conservative News and Views. I've also left links to the awesome CNAV Store and to rsilverlines.com, as I also mentioned. You know already about how to like a video, turn on notifications, and leave a tip. And on the end screen, I'm going to leave a subscribe link to my channel and links to some of my most recent videos about Ron DeSantis on an issue that he has dealt with. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.